Um, Jason, are we good to go?
We're good.
Okay, it is 7 o'clock. I would like to call to order this meeting for the 9th of February, 2021. And there's our agenda. Thank you, Jason. Jason, do you have a flag we can put up?
I got one in the middle of the room here.
Oh, that's true. Look at that. All right, well, we will say the pledge to that flag in the middle of the room.
Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
of the United States of America,
to
to
the
the
republic
republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and justice for all. Okay, Ms. Bankin, would you like to call the roll?
Wynn,
I am here.
Hartshorn,
Here.
Mears,
Yes.
There's an amendment to Resolution 2101. I guess our wording got thrown around several times, and we should clarify that the proper wording is to state that there will be a work session on the second Tuesday of each month at 6 p.m. as needed prior to the regular meeting, and the fourth Tuesday of every month as needed. And I would like to entertain a motion for a consent agenda to just approve the changes and everything rather than go by each step by step, and change the wording to say the second and the fourth Tuesdays as needed.
I second it.
Wynn,
Yes.
Hartshorn,
Yes.
Mears.
Yeah. Yes.
Mears. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Then we have the approval of minutes from the trustees meeting of January 12th, the special meeting, and the work sessions. Has everyone had a chance to look over those minutes?
Yeah, I did, and I did find. I talked with Miss Binkin, and she did make a correction. So
That was the Beckett Veronice name. Is that
Yeah.
right?
yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'll make a motion to accept all of the minutes.
Second.
Wynn,
Yes.
Hartshorn,
Yes.
Mears,
Yes.
Okay, and then resolution 2122 to approve the payment of bills between checks 35,925 and 35,990. I'd like to make a separate motion to accept the payment of those bills and those checks as written.
Second.
Wynn,
Yes.
Mears,
Yes.
Hartshorn.
Yes.
Okay.
For the fiscal officer report, for 2021, the trustees do get a salary increase of $226 and the FO salary increase of $396. The FO salary increase in 2020, I waived, and there is a motion in 2020 for that. And for 2021, approved no salary increase for me. This is something the trustees all need to agree on. If you want the pay increase, which your January check does not have that added onto it. So this is your decision, but it has to be all yay or all nay. But for me, I will decline my salary increase for the second year in a row.
I personally see no reason for a pay increase.
I would agree.
Missy, it's on you. What do you think?
No problem.
Okay, so I say that we are going to waive that as well.
So I'll add the trustees, the fiscal officer and trustees approved no salary increase approved, which has been approved by the state of Ohio. $396 for the FO and $226 for the trustees. That will be waived. Is this correct?
Yes.
Correct. No pay increases.
Somebody like to make that
Yeah.
motion?
Yeah, I said so moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Hartshorn,
Yes.
Wynn,
Yes.
Mears? Did Mears say yes? I'm sorry, Missy. I
Yes.
didn't. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, the Sheep Road paperwork is complete and Trustee Wynn has signed, and I scanned and emailed that to Kramer and Associates, who then forwarded it on to the state of Ohio. We received the real estate assessment fee refund, which was $5,482.92. The county calculated which fund this refund would go into. So that has been receipted as of today. The Perry Township 2020 road mileage of 18.27 miles of public road has been mailed to ODOT on February the 5th. I thought this was kind of interesting. It don't pertain to our township, but the Auditor of State's office has been reviewing past UAN data to determine ways in which the Auditor of State could become more effective and provide better services. They noticed in 19 that 323 UAN clients did not perform timely bank reconciliations. So they can look at certain reports to know if the fiscal officer has done a bank reconciliation or if it's past the 60 days. And they're launching a new feature that's on the e-services accounts that would generate an email to the board if the entity's FO has not posted a bank reconciliation in UAN in 60 days. I think I got that set up properly. So if you guys receive something, you know, the bank rec is not reconciled, I think you can agree that I usually do that before the next month. And then also received a call from Montgomery Soil and Water stating that several contractors will be parking at Soil and Water and walk the land on Amity Road regarding the wetlands this Friday at 9 a.m. Trustee Mears, do you want to jump in then? Because you said you spoke to someone at Soil and Water and the meeting will not be held. Do you have any update on that, or does that still stand?
Yeah, I know you received an email or a phone call, and so did I, and from two different people at the Soil and Water. And at that time, there was the gentleman I talked to said that there was no meeting. So in the meantime, I have got a hold of a Mr. Devin Shank from the ODNR, and he stated that they will be having not a meeting. There's going to be there are two separate sessions. Contractors are going to be there. They're going to walk. I asked if I could attend, and again, it's no meeting. They're just walking the thing, and so that's what I got. And then I have more in my report. So when I get to my report, I'll go into other things that was stated in there. But there is a meeting Friday, but it's just for contractors. So that's where that is right now. And like I said, I'll go in tomorrow in my report.
Are you gonna be there anyway, Missy?
I asked him and he said if I wanted to come, I could, but to let him know. But he said, I really don't know why you want to be here unless you're planning on walking because they're not meeting. I mean, it's just, it's going to be like five contractors and they're all going to walk the land and then they're going to leave. So they're not having a sit down meeting. So
I just want to make sure that if they're gonna put the wetlands there, they're doing it on our terms. as
well, yeah, that's I've got more information, so I'll share that in my report when I get there.
Okay. Do we have, Ms. Bankin, did you have any
That's
more?
all I have.
Okay. Do we have a report today from Road and Cemetery?
Yes. As far as the funerals to date, we have 4 funerals to date. As far as roads, we had to repair the 99. We had an oil line, the same line that went on in 2001, went on the 99, so we replaced that. Been hauling salt and grits. As far as the insurance, we were in compliance. We've got the oxyacetylene tanks provided, driving abstract complete, safety post block, placed at the diesel tank, and the stickers for used oil tanks. So we should be done with our list on that. As far as here and at the maintenance building, we do need to get them fire extinguishers tested. We're over here, or from November of last year, we do it about every 6 months or 8 months. So we need to decide who we're going to get to do it. And then as far as,
Well, can I jump in, Mike? We okay with that company that's been doing it? It's called A-OK Fire Protection. Mindy, did you talk to the Brookfield
Oh.
Fire Department?
Yeah, they're good. They do a lot of buildings in the area. So if we've gone with them and we're still okay with them, they're comparable in price.
So I can call A-OK and get them scheduled?
Yeah, that's fine.
and next on the list should be the bid opening for mowing. For the cemetery, the Pleasant Hill, Eversole, Piermont, and Landis.
Yeah. So, you gonna open those, Karen?
Yeah, I have those.
Okay.
Before we start, Mike, do you have what you came up with? How much it would be?
Yes,
I've got the copy right here.
Oh, okay, good.
Here's in
Okay.
my box. So,
Okay.
do you want the number of what Mike?
No, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
And one other question, Mike, and I'm sorry, I know I harp on you all the time. Did you get the dump truck on Gov Deals yet?
not yet. We haven't had time to get it in since we're down some people to get it in, get stripped. With them being on the roads and everything else and trying to get the outside work done, no, it's not on yet.
What are you trying? What do you have left to strip off there?
We've got lights to take off, light bar, so forth, lights in the front. So.
Okay.
And does that stuff need to come off because we're keeping it for other vehicles?
Yes, we can use
Okay.
parts. The light bar on another truck if and when we ever get one, or parts for the one we've got.
Okay.
I have a question. Can pictures be taken of that and put on Gov Deals, but then mention that the light and light bar are not included?
How long would it take to take the light bar off? Is that all you have left to take off? Is just a light bar?
Probably got some switches and so forth to take off also.
But if you take the light bar off, how long would that take? And then we could take the pictures and put it on.
Depends, until I can get out there and look at it. But no situation I'm in right now, I can't go outside, so.
Okay, but Dave can do, I thought that's what Dave did down at Miami Township.
He was a mechanic, but I
Right.
just want to see what we else need to take off that truck.
Okay.
I guess what we can do when we do that, might as well put this police car on there too, and do 2 for 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. And the reason I'm asking, Mike, and I keep harping on this is I've received now 2 phone calls from neighbors wanting to know about that truck. So, I've told them that it's going on Gov Deals. So that's why I keep asking.
Well, we'll get there as soon as we can, but we got the other workload to deal with here, so.
Okay. Well, maybe you can pull, I know, with the snow and everything, you can't, but maybe you can pull Dave off and get him out there and get it done.
Well, when Dave's not plowing snow, he's home because some tune-ups and hours right now type of situation, so.
Right, yeah, I understand that, but that, yeah, and that, well, what about Randy, because I know he worked like all day today.
Yeah, and Randy can, if he gets the time, but he's out checking roads and cemeteries and everything else, so we will get to it as soon as we can.
Okay, no problem, I just don't want to know what to tell the residents, so. Okay, I'm sorry, that's all I got, Jason, I'm sorry.
Not a problem. Go ahead, Karen.
We received 5 sealed bids for the cemetery mowing. 3 bids are being disqualified because they must be sent to the address and to the attention of Karen Kaler. 3 of the bids I have only have the address on them and they're not to my attention. So I'm gonna open these.
Did we state anywhere that that would be disqualifying criteria?
Sorry?
She asked about it, that was stated that that would be disqualifying criteria. There was actually an email sent to Nathaniel regarding the topic, and Nathaniel said that if they weren't sent to the person that was stated in the advertisement, that they would be disqualified.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we had clearly stated that.
This first quote is from Douglas Property Management. Doug Gaiman is the person, and it's to cut grass, string trim around headstones at 4 cemeteries: Wolf Creek, Air Hill, Old Dayton, and Sulphur Springs, and then they've got a note on those. And the bid price is $950.
Per mowing.
And what was the name on that one?
It is Douglas Property Management. Mike, your question was for each mowing.
Yeah, is that per mowing?
It just says unit price, $950.
Yeah, so that'd be
So
from-
I'm assuming that is. That was the first one.
Do we have a number, Mike, of about how many mows we average in a year?
20.
20 mows a year.
That's the average, we go up or down depending on.
Right.
The spring and fall.
Okay, this second one that I have is from Cecil Sampson Jr. He has this broken down. Eversole, the price per cut will be $250. Pleasant Hill would be $300. Piermont would be $125, and he has Landis at $150.
That's like 925, I think. Thereabouts.
So
The math in my head.
I didn't bring a calculator. I'm not good.
Wow.
These, Jason. I don't know if you need to
I got-
turn the camera.
I got 825. Did you say
Yeah,
250?
825.
It's all broken down.
Right.
And this is really hard for me to do because I can't see them. What does his say?
So basically, they've got the price laid out and per cut, pre-emergent, weed kill, total kill, hours, square footage, and personnel.
It's broken down by activity, not by,
By cemetery.
And, well, and it's cross-referenced by cemetery, so basically the ones I read off are the horizontal, and, then the cemeteries are the vertical in a table format.
Does he have any past experience?
Yes.
Either one.
Has been in business for 40 years cutting residential, 30 years at estates, and 5 years at nursing homes.
Okay, and what about the other one?
Um, This doesn't have a listing of experience, but it does say that they have $1 million general liability through car insurance agency.
Does the other gentleman have liability? I thought that was what we had. They had to have, submit what kind of equipment they had and everything.
So they submitted their equipment, gave references, and they submitted their certificate of liability insurance. So their $1 million each occurrence, 1 million damage to rented premises, $5,000 medical expense, $1 million personal and advanced injury, general aggregate of 2 million, and products, says comp, op ag, 2 million as well.
Okay. Mike, what was Millhouse charging us?
I believe 850.
He was $850.
Yes, I believe so.
Rhonda, do you know what Millhouse was charging?
I can pull an invoice, hold on. Landis was 150, Piermont 250, Pleasant Hill 250, Eversole 250.
No. Okay. On the second one, Jason, is he going to put weed kill around the headstones instead of weed whacking?
He has weed kill on here and total kill.
Okay.
So the services will be grass cutting using 60-inch professional mowers. Additional services include pre-emergent, weed kill, total kill, and cleanup of flower beds such as sticks, etc.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm not comfortable with the weed kill in a cemetery because I know there's a lot of animals up there. I know on Wolf Creek there is, and
Right.
people go up there with their flowers and stuff. I'm not crazy about that. So and what was Mike's bid? I'm sorry.
Mike's numbers were $40,864.20 for the season.
$40,000?
Yes.
And that's for us to buy a new mower and 2 guys mowing it, right?
Three guys.
24 hours. It's all broke out there.
Yep. Yeah, they can hear you. The mic's actually in the middle room.
Okay.
Yeah,
See, that's broke out with the trailer, pickup truck, weed eaters, the fuel, 2 mowers, which we got one, had to buy another one. Per mowing of the cemeteries, what it costs. It would be salaries. So that includes the whole ball. There's some hidden costs and then your physical costs that you
Right.
can see every week because of fuel, so forth. The other costs is depreciation on trucks, trailers, and everything else. So,
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And so the first bid at $950 per mow at 20 mows, that's $19,000 for the season.
Okay.
The second one from Samson Property Services, I'm having a hard time understanding their table. They have a lot of dollar figures in it, but it doesn't. There's no subtotals or totals on it, which makes it really hard to figure out and evaluate. If you want, if the trustees want, I can reach out to Cecil Sampson Jr. and basically just get the summary per mow for the services. And then we can evaluate it based on 20 mows. So that we're talking apples to apples. Is there any issue with getting that further clarification? Want to make sure that we're not misstepping.
My honest opinion is this is what they sent in. I think this is what we need to go with.
Okay.
You know, if you want to hold off till next meeting so we can accept and reject, so we can do homework, or that's up to you all.
Right.
Say that again, Mike. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
If you want to hold off till next meeting to accept or reject any of the bids, that way we get a chance to do the homework on everybody. But that's up to you trustees.
No.
Guys, I have to apologize. I had a significant baby emergency, so I'm gonna have to abstain from any decisions that need made in anything that I just missed out on.
So it sounds like basically the bid that came in at a per unit cost gave us everything we need to evaluate it. The other one has a lot of dollar numbers on it, but no subtotals or per unit cost, making it hard to evaluate. So I would say, based on that, it looks like we have one bid that we can actually evaluate and move forward with.
You're only talking what, a $75 difference?
125.
Say it again.
125.
But the problem is, I don't know what these other dollar values mean. If it's, you know, a seasonal cost, or if it's a per mow cost, it would then increase the cutting. Because they
Right.
separated the cutting out as a singular activity. And
Yeah.
then other activities that have dollar values under those columns for the cemetery, so it may end up being more. It looks like it's more based on what they have there.
Okay, and this, the first one, the first mowing company, where are they located at?
At the top.
At the top, Wolf Creek Pike,
Okay, and where's the second one located from?
Arlington Road.
Okay, Arlington Road. Okay. Well, the one good thing is the one gentleman, where is he at? Do we know? There's a possibility I don't know where his address is. There's a possibility he lives in the township.
Yeah, it's 10834 South Wolf Creek. I believe that's in the township. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that that person lives right across the street from the cemetery.
Okay. So do we have a motion then to accept the one evaluatable bid? Well, I will make a motion to accept the bid from Douglas Property Management based on a cost of $950 per mow.
And I'll second it.
Hartshorn,
Yes.
Mears,
Yes.
Wynn,
Because I missed some of the discussion, I'm going to abstain.
Mr. Kraft, did you have anything else?
As far as that, in the office, I've been working and completed the Pine Valley Plan Commission report. Issue 2, which took me a week or so to do, a little bit that, or longer than that. Been working on policy handbook upgrades as requested, and working on other topics you requested on that paper also, so.
Okay.
And just trying to keep up with outside, what they're going outside and keep things going. Should be about it.
Okay. Mindy, that was it for Mike.
Okay, do we have a report from the police department?
Yes, I do. And with the regrets, Chief Littleton had a prior engagement this evening and Sergeant Hessler couldn't attend. He is in class in London, Ohio. So I was given the report. So if it's okay, I'll proceed.
Yep, please do.
Okay, I need a resolution to accept the hiring of a Brooksy Legert part-time administrator assistant at $15 per hour, effective date of February 1st, 2021.
I'll make a motion to approve her hiring.
Seconded.
my apologies, Wynn,
Yes.
Hartshorn,
Yes.
Mears,
Yes. Rhonda, did you call our roll? I forget. Did you call our roll when we? Yes, you did. Never mind. Okay. I also need a resolution to accept the hiring of a new part-time officer. And I know I'm going to say this really bad. Marty, Hamadi, Hamardi, yes, at a rate of $12.50 while in FTO, effective date January 25th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Hartshorn,
Yes.
Wynn,
Yes.
Mears,
Yes. And I also need a resolution for Officer Dakota Cox, pay increase from $10 an hour to $15 an hour due to finishing FTO. I make that motion.
I'll second.
Mears,
Yes.
Wynn,
Yes.
Hartshorn,
Yes.
Okay. And then the 2020 stats are published to the police department website at www.perrytownshipolice.org. And the January 21 stats are published to the police department website. And also, the police department has teamed up with the Brookville Fire Department to use our Hyper Reach mass notification system. The information is posted on their website, and you are encouraged, everyone, to sign up so you can receive important information at a moment's notice. And at that time, that's all Chief Littleton had.
Okay. Ms. Kaler, you have a zoning report for us.
For trash, we've received back 1,063 trash payments for this quarter. And there's still about 234 that has not been paid as of this date. On zoning, I have mailed out 5 permits applications since our last meeting. 2 barns, 2 home additions, and 1 single family dwelling. And right now I'm working on about 12 properties that I've received complaints on. And due to the weather and everything, there isn't a whole lot we can do at this time. But as soon as the weather breaks and it starts to warm up, then I'll be sending out the first courtesy letters to these property owners so that we can start getting some cleanup and get things done. And that's all I have at this time.
Okay. We'll go into the trustee reports. I don't have a lot on mine. I'd like to give a shout out to our road crew for doing an awesome job on the roads. In the snow, they were very well cleared, and I, for one, living on Air Hill, appreciate that greatly. All 3 of us attended the OTA conference online, and I think we got some good information out of it. There are a few things that I look forward to implementing. We're making a lot of progress on the risk assessment that we've all been working on, and I appreciate you guys, and especially Rhonda stepping up and getting so much of that done. Rhonda and Missy, you guys have just been awesome and all that. I have been spending a bit of time in the office, and I really am enjoying doing that because I've really met a lot of nice people there. So I'm going to try to continue to do that on as many Wednesdays as I can, but not tomorrow. If I make it in, it will be late in the afternoon or evening. But anytime anybody wants to meet with me up there or wants to come and vent about anything, I've had a lot of people calling, just wanting to discuss things like rumpke and leaves and tree branches. And, you know, I'm willing to listen to anything. And if there's something we can do about it, then we absolutely will. So just let me know, and I will be happy to do my best to meet you up there at the Township building anytime, and we can just sit and chat. And that's really all I've got.
Okay, my month was, so far, it's been kind of dominated by the OTAs, similar to the other trustees and fiscal officer and zoning. The ramp project is progressing. Weather's kind of handed us a little bit of a slowdown on that, but they are progressing on the east ramp, I believe it's east ramp. So looking forward to that moving forward. Township website, social media, continuing to update the website, developing content and uploading documents as they're made available. Worked through an issue last week with the hosting provider regarding email issues. Email got kind of clunky for part of a day there. That was resolved with no further issues. And installed the new Wi-Fi for the admin offices last Friday. At this time, Karen is the only PC on it. She is my volunteer, or as we say in the military, she was voluntold. I just wanted to burn it in, make sure that there was no issues with the network. And then I will be coming in to set up Rhonda's PC to move over to that network. I talked with Sergeant Hessler, and that may have been what caused the glitch Friday afternoon. I wanted to make sure that anybody on the admin office Wi-Fi is able to connect to the scanner printer in the hallway. So he just had to open the port for that, make sure it was good to go. And that's probably what caused the glitch that Rhonda experienced. With that, we'll also have a new guest Wi-Fi, and both the password for the guest Wi-Fi will be given to the administrative offices once we're ready to start using that. I was very happy to see that the police department echoed our hyper reach post. That's great. I'm very appreciative of the police department for picking up their megaphone and putting that out there. And I really hope our residents are going to take advantage of these notifications. records preservation. So this has been something that I've been chasing down for a while. I finally found a point of contact at Wright State regarding the Ohio Network of American History Research Centers. And there are some Perry documents, ledgers that they have from the late 1800s and early 1900s. Basically, they preserve old records, and you can go in and review them and look at them as part of history, and they also preserve them so that they're available for the municipalities that need them. I was asked a very pointed question regarding what records would we be interested in preserving. I know we have limited space to store, and we don't have a climate and humidity controlled area for some of these older ledgers. So I wanted to see what the other trustees thought, fiscal officer thought of if there's a time period of records that we would want to shift that way so that it frees up space, guarantees that they're protected and preserved. We can do that. So is there any, I don't have a whole lot of insight as to what records we have over at the maintenance building. I know we have a room that was built over there. I know Rhonda's office is full. The admin area has got them all up in the cabinets. Out of all the stuff that we have, you know, is there, let's say the last 50 years that we would want to keep on site here and look at anything older than 50 years being rotated out over to something like what Wright State has to preserve and store those ledgers? This isn't something that we have to decide on right now. I just want to plant a seed, get people thinking about it.
How much are we talking about? Like, is it a lot?
Are you
Or,
talking money?
well, no, I mean, as far as the records, you know, as far as 50 years older, to clear out space and whatnot, I think for preservation purposes, if they can keep them, you know, better than we can, that's one thing.
Right.
But you know, how much, like a bunch of books, a bunch of files, what are we looking at? And yes, money wise, what's it going to cost us?
I don't think it costs anything. I think this is something that they do, but I needed to have an idea of what type of records we would be looking to preserve so that I could continue the conversation with them. So
I would like to go down to the maintenance building and go in that room because I myself have never been in that, so I'm not sure what's in there. So I can do that, and maybe all three of us should at different times just to check it out to see what we're gotten. So I think, you know, we can kind of table that until we can decide. But yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay, so
Jason, I think the records in the record room over at the maintenance garage is mainly FO and trash, zoning. There might be a few books, but I think a lot of that, if we start going through our records retention, and then we can shred a lot of old reports, you know, again, we'll have to look at our records retention to see what the time period is that we need to keep. You know,
well, that's another part of this is actually assessing our records retention and making sure that either we use it as defined, we update it, and then we find out what the impact is to the currently stored amount of documentation.
And I know that there are some old books down there, kind of like what we have there, because I remember Mr. Sim would come in sometime and go in there and read them. So I know there are some books in there.
Right. Okay, so we can investigate that on our own and have further discussions next month.
Okay.
The last thing that I had was, as I've been going through the cemeteries, I've noticed that our flags are in desperate need of replacement. I know, we were talking with the VFW about replacing, they were gonna do a flag, right? I think was that for Piermont that they were gonna do?
They,
They're all replaced.
Okay.
yeah, I have the gentleman who, I don't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry. The gentleman who, Mr. Goforth, he dropped off the POW one, and I told him that I was trying to hold off until, the weather got better because it was gonna get beat up, and he said he didn't care, he wanted the new one put up. So I took it down and I gave it to Dave, and I also gave Dave I think eight or 10 different flags. So they do have new flags that I went out and purchased
Okay.
for the township, which the township paid for, but they do have new flags.
Okay.
So they have those in their,
I remembered that, but then I was still seeing a tattered flag here and there, so I wanted to at least. bring it
yeah.
up.
So yeah, because well, even
The should all be replaced, but we even had a flagpole fixed over.
Yeah, I remember the flagpole was fixed.
yeah.
Okay, and that's all that I had. Thank you.
Okay, and mine is I attended the City of Brookville, the virtual prayer breakfast, which was different. I kind of like to go to that. I also attended the RDC virtual meeting. That's a regional dispatch meeting, and also Chief Littleton will be our alternate for that. Again, attended the OTA conferences. I've been in contact with the residents regarding the wetlands. I had someone call, and so I started making phone calls. And again, I contacted Mr. Shank from Ohio Department of Natural Resources. He stated that they are in the early stages of the design. They're talking a couple years of planning, not till like the fall of 2022. And yes, they will engage with the residents. They will be having a walkthrough on this Friday, which I stated. I've contacted Soil and Water. They know to contact me if there's anything. Mr. Shank did send me an email where a bunch of residents had asked a bunch of really good questions, which if you would like, I can print off and put in your mailbox. They were really good questions. And I told Mr. Shank, with us being a small township and these residents very close, they're very concerned. And we weren't really happy when we found out about this, like 45 minutes before one of our trustee meetings. And he said he understood and he will try to stay in better contact. But there again, I don't know how that's going to go. So I, I called the residents back, talked to them today. They seem somewhat satisfied, still not happy, but, and Mr. Shank assured me that when it did get closer, that they would be having like a town hall meeting with the residents that are involved, and we'll go from there. They said that they would address that, send a letter out, notify us, so maybe we can set something up at Brookville at the high school. I don't know how many people would be interested. Hopefully, all the residents, and we'll go from there. And again, Soil and Water, they have my name. Mindy, do you think I should go down Friday? Do you?
I would like, so I can't be there, but I would like us to be present anytime someone is there. If you can, even if you don't go walking it, just
Yeah.
to be there to let them know that we are a present
Okay.
force in this.
Yeah, because I told him, and again, I'll state, he said because of COVID, they can't have too many people, which I understand, but walking through a field. But yeah, I'll stop down and just let them know that I'm not going
We
to.
are a part of this.
Yeah, I'm not going to go away. And that's what I informed this Mr. Shank today. I'm not going away. So I don't care how long it takes. We're not going away. You will inform us. And also, I'd like to thank Rumpke. I know a lot of people have been having some issues, but I read on Facebook this week where somebody thanked them for coming up. They forgot to put their trash out, and the trash gentleman came up and took their trash out, and I thought that was really, really good. And also, I I'd also like to thank Miss Kaler for an outstanding job that she's doing. I can't believe every time I go down there, the woman is going to paint her room in chalk so she can write on the ceiling and everywhere. She has notes everywhere. So if she doesn't know, she finds out and she keeps going and digging until she gets there. So I just wanted to thank Miss Kaler for everything that she's doing. And that's all I got.
Okay.
What was the RDC Regional Dispatch? What was that about?
It was just a virtual meeting. It's for the dispatch. I received an email to attend it, and right now it's just it's a new committee that's starting for the regional dispatch.
To get all of their areas that they dispatch unified,
Yes.
working with each other.
Yeah, and right now, like I said, they're just starting. They're doing their bylaws and all that. So they're just getting people from each district, whoever is, that uses the dispatch to keep us informed.
Do we have any new business?
Mindy, did you want to bring up that what we talked about?
Yeah, well, that's kind of old business now, isn't it? Or, I mean, I guess if there's no new business, we might as well go into old business, but
Okay.
yeah, I think we've been discussing the Beckett Veronice financial agency coming in and helping us. They do these audits where they help townships find additional money. But after doing some investigation, and Trustee Mears made some phone calls, and I've requested some contract adjustments a couple times, we discussed not utilizing their services. So, we never really made a motion to use them yet. So do we need to make a motion not to? I think we've just been playing with that idea. I don't think there was anything ever formal. Was there, Miss Bankin, do you know?
No, I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't think we ever made anything formal. So I think, at this point we can just say we've opted not to use their services.
Okay. And then I had a question back to the mowing thing. Who Mr. Kraft, or who will be that calls that gentleman? Is that one of the trustees, or is that Mr. Kraft? To tell him he was awarded the contract.
I don't mind doing it. If it is a trustee, I can do it, but I
Okay.
don't want to take away if it's something Mr. Kraft usually does, or if he's got information he needs to discuss with him.
Well, maybe if you call him and tell him, and then he can tell him he needs to meet with Mr. Kraft.
So Mr. Kraft is gonna take care of that, and then he will, let us know if there's any issues or anything comes out of that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had a hard time hearing.
Copies of all of the information that we got, and I'll be putting it in the trustees' boxes for you.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Kraft is going to make that call?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will, the information that I got with the wetlands, with the questions that some of the residents had to ask, I'll run a copy of that off and put it in each one of your mailboxes, because they were very, very good questions.
Yeah, I'm quite interested in that as well.
Okay. Yes, I'll get that to you.
Okay. Any other old business?
The agenda has something about the cemetery grant.
Well, Jason, you emailed the cemetery grant. The reports are due July 30th, all the paperwork. So that'll need to really get started here once the weather breaks, to start working on that, because that is a grant. We have, needs to be reported by their date.
Okay, so did we ever hear anything back, or Missy, were you ever able to?
Yeah, I got a hold of a gentleman, Mr. Milligan, and he said he would look into it, but right now it's just not the time, with the weather and everything. So as soon as the weather breaks, I can get him out there, but it will be before July 30th. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you let him know that, we basically have to have it all written up probably a
Yes.
month beforehand, so.
okay, yep, I can do that.
All right.
Thank
And I
you.
think that'll help us then to know what his cost is, so we know how much to do.
In the grant, you mean?
Yeah, it's only $1,000 grant. So if he's
right.
gonna charge, $4,000, then we need to reevaluate. Is our road crew going to do what this Mr. Milliken can do with the patching and paint? So
I don't know. I have we ever had that professionally done, or has it always been
Yes.
the road crew?
Yes, back in 2003, they had it done. It was a little bit, about $9,800.
Ooh,
And
Who did that?
I'd have to look back in the minutes. I don't know.
No, Farmersville, but I don't know if he's around anymore. Then we did it last time for patching and painting. It's just the old stuff, when you patch it in a couple of years, it possibly gonna come out like it did this time around. So we did it last time.
Okay. So that was in 2003, and that was 9,800. Okay. Yes, like I said, I've got the phone number out there, but it's just with this weather, I'm not going to get anybody out there. So as soon as it breaks a little bit, I'll get on it.
do we have any visitors that have anything to address this evening? Okay.
I have a
Having,
question. Miami Valley Regional Planning, do we need to do anything since we're not going to utilize them this year? Is there, again, does a resolution, or we just don't do anything, or have we contacted someone from there to let them know Perry will not be participating?
I have not reached out to them yet. I was waiting to see if we needed a resolution before moving forward on that. We discussed the membership, I think, during the last working session at the end of January. And it sounded like we were all good on the same page with abstaining from membership for this year and revisiting it next year. So if we need a motion for that, then I can take care of that with the MVRPC.
I think that would probably be a good idea that we have a motion.
Okay, then I make a motion that for 2021, Perry Township abstains from membership of the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission.
A second.
Hartshorn,
Yes.
Wynn,
yes,
Mears?
Yes.
And one last thing for me, my audit will begin. They'll probably be here either the 18th or the 22nd. We did qualify for an AUP audit, which will just be kind of a light audit. This will be my second one. So then the next audit will have to be a full audit.
okay. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
No, I got,
Hold on a second.
Okay, holding on.
we got a situation to get this underneath the table because payroll is taxes due. And holding up that check, screwing up, not paying the taxes on everybody. So we got a situation to get done here. So if you're done with the regular meeting, we can go into this.
Yeah, I'm having trouble hearing. What was the question about it?
By holding up two paychecks, but the first one you held up, if I didn't make the suggestion paying me what you owed me, what I earned, medical wouldn't got paid, and if medical wouldn't got paid and it got dropped, township is gonna be in trouble because they would have been picking up all my bills. Second of all, now this last paycheck held up, there's taxes due, and you can't submit that report till all the paychecks are made out. So we've got something to discuss here to get through this, right or wrong, get it under the table so we get it cleared off. And I want to do this in open meeting because I have nothing to hide.
Well, it's my understanding that your last paycheck was being held for some corrections to be made, and as soon as the corrections were made, then that was going to be reissued.
We want to get into this. We're going to get into this.
First, I have to ask Mike, do you want to go into executive session
Nope.
or do you want to do this public? That's
I
up
want
to
to
you.
do publicly because I have nothing to hide.
Okay, just checking.
Okay. But Missy, I appreciate you getting back to me, but it was not what I asked for. I asked for what was in the CDL book, not a physician's response, but was in the CDL book. But it took me a public record request to get that instead of an employee be able to get it. And that was 40 days later after I asked for that.
Okay, when I spoke to you that day down there, Mike, I never told you where I got that information from.
Missy,
Okay,
excuse me,
okay.
but I know where you got it from because the conversation I had with the same person you got it from talked to me 4 days earlier. So I know where this comes from.
Okay.
And
It didn't. Okay, well, Mike, first off, I checked it online because I was interested with the shock vest and with the what is it called? Dialysis. So in the meantime, and I have talked to a couple people, and I'm sure you're referring to the same person. That's what they told me. So I'm just going by what I'm saying, and what I printed off is what I saw that night when I checked. Because when you called or when Rhonda called and said that you were wearing a shock vest, in my mind, personally, I thought there's no way that you can operate any machinery with a shock vest on. So I looked that up. So that's where I got the information at. I didn't get that information from anybody else until days later. And when I have other people come up to me and say, you can't have this person driving this, the responsibility of the township. So then when I checked, and I've made a couple phone calls about your dialysis, and that is a disqualification.
But is it in the CDL book?
It doesn't matter, Mike, if it's in the CDL. If we want to as trust, if we want
the township goes back to Ohio Revised Code. That's what you go by.
Okay,
CDL driving book is what I go by on my license.
Okay, that's true. That is. But if I come back to you and say, Mike, I want you to go get a medical test, and they come back and say, no, he can't drive, that's what we have to go by.
You can give a medical test, but I don't need a medical card, Missy.
I'm not talking about a medical card, Mike, where I know there's two different CDLs where you need one to drive over state lines and whatever. It's stating if you have dialysis that you can't operate a vehicle.
Well, we all know the kidney doctor has put me back to full duty. And this vest is what's the hold up on this one. But three weeks ago now, I had a doctor's appointment and it's supposed to have a doctor's excuse or to get off some of these restrictions, and I haven't seen it yet. So, and I told you all up front, it takes time to get these doctor's notes. Now it's been
Okay,
2 weeks.
when you talk about that, Mike, when we have your doctor's note, okay, so when do you get the shock vest off?
That's to be determined here, hopefully in a couple weeks.
Okay, so your heart doctor is the one who said you cannot drive any equipment or
Right.
anything or any overtime. So if your heart doctor comes back and removes that and takes you off that, and then says you're okay. But then the possibility, what I was told was a possibility that if, when they take the shock vest off, there is a possibility that you will either have to have a defibrillator or a pacemaker. Is that correct?
You're missing it all wrong. The only reason why they got this on me because of what the situation of my kidney put a strain on my heart and it's weak. And I had a heart cath done. There's nothing wrong with my heart. It's just weak.
Okay.
And they just put this on me because they wanted, for the safety of it.
Okay.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Okay.
So, but the nutshell of it all is, when I met with you November 30th, you hung your hat on dialysis, and that doctor released me back to full duty. But it's just paperwork. It's a paper trail like everybody else does here. You check with Nathaniel for things. I check the CDL book, and I
Okay.
haven't found nothing in there restricting me from driving with dialysis.
Okay. Well, what I gave you, Mike, was from ODOT. And again,
That is a fact sheet from a physician. And I
Okay.
appreciate you got me that, but it took a public records request to get it. I asked for it November 30th and I didn't receive it till 40 days later.
40.
40 days.
Okay.
Yes, 40 days.
Okay.
Because December 18th, I asked for it again.
Okay. And Mike, I'm not going to go back and forth with you.
I'm not. That's
No, and that's
one-
not the point. I know you want to go back to work and everything else, and we're here to help you and everything else. And I want you to know that my heart is in the right place, but I'm just going by my gut.
But
And
we'll go on here because I have.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question, Mike. If Dale was still working there and he came into work and he had a shock vest on, or say Randy comes in and he has a shock vest on, you going to put Randy in a dump truck and let him drive it?
Missy, that.
Are you going to let Randy drive it? That's not what I'm asking you, Mike. Are you going to let Randy drive it?
Little bit, just like you said in your report. I'll get to that report when I get to my business, my trustees report. And we'll get to that here in a little bit.
Get to what?
We'll get to the situation here, but.
What? Now, wait a minute. What situation? I just asked you a question. If Randy came down there.
We're going to get to that here in a minute.
Okay. Okay. So I can't answer that. Like, I don't think it was 40 days. It could have been. I don't know. Okay. I got you what I did. I did not go to anybody else. I got that information myself. I looked it up online on ODOT. And I can, as a trustee, ask you to go get a medical. And it doesn't have to do a medical that for your CDL where you have to drive across state lines. That's what I'm saying. I can send you for a medical. I can do that.
Missy, don't you think I've been probed enough and under the microscope in the last?
Mike, I know you have, and you're wearing a shock vest, you have a weak heart, and you're going for dialysis. You have all that. So I'm looking out for the best of the township and you. So, I don't want to argue with you, and we're not trying to hurt you or anything else. And I know you're dedicated to this township, and I myself and the other people and residents appreciate that. But we're looking out for your safety and everything else. That's what I'm hoping.
We'll go on to number 2 then.
Okay.
In the policy handbook, when you suspend somebody, which suspend to me is administrative leave of absence. In there it says you shall provide a letter 48 hours before you do that. And the reason for this suspension, the duration of suspension, and pay or non-pay status of suspension. That was never given to me. Second of all, you cannot tell me a decision was not made in executive session on this administrative leave. And if that's the case, that was an invalid decision to put me on administrative leave, correct?
I'm having a real hard time understanding, and maybe it's my speakers. I think I'm missing some of what you're trying to convey, Mike.
What I'm conveying, Mindy, is that decision to put me on administrative leave was made in an executive session, which invalidates putting me on that leave because that decision was made in. Now, if you come out of that executive session and said, this is what we're going to do, you've been fine. But you did not.
Well, you're not on administrative leave, Mike. You never have been. You're on a limited duty based on the letter from your cardiologist.
Mindy, that conversation I had with Jason, December 8th at 12:10, I was on unpaid administrative leave.
Okay.
You didn't have the letters from your doctors, and as soon as you provided those letters from your doctors, hold on, that we would then assess what you could do, what you couldn't do, and the risks to the township. You brought that in on a Friday, and when you brought that in, nobody told us until the following Tuesday that was actually sitting in Rhonda's office in your file. And as soon as we heard about it, we went through it. And that's when
Right,
special meeting.
that was done and over with when
But
you
Jason,
brought in the letters that we
I
needed.
was on unpaid administrative leave. Yeah.
Okay, but that was done and over with when you brought in the letters that were requested.
They put me on unpaid administrative leave. Now, Mindy, I got your note right here that says you can't recollect it was ever brought up. But it was. And that's what Tuesday's meeting, trustees meeting, I brought it up unpaid. And in the minutes says I was going to either use sick time or vacation time. And nothing was ever said not to what to use or not to use. I didn't get that information until December 18th. In that letter, I suggested that you put it in the office so I can see it because I didn't get the certified letter.
Okay, the procedures that were followed are just standard generic procedures for any business operations. And nothing was done because of who you are or what you've done or anything with any malice or prejudice.
I
But
understand
you
that,
met-
Mindy. I understand that, but the decision was made in executive session.
We discussed the employment of an employee that posed a risk to the township. We discussed it. There was no decision made in that executive. Hold on. There was no decision made in that executive session. We came out of it and said that until we got the letters from the doctors, we could not fully assess the risk to yourself or the township. And that's exactly what happened.
Okay, Jason, you invited me into that meeting on December. When was that decision made? To bring me back to work. And matter of fact, it was saying you can go back to work because I had the doctor's note and I had to give you the pills I took and when I took them.
And the doctor's note said that you're confined to desk duty.
Yeah.
Our hands are tied on that. That's not our choice, that's their choice.
And a letter that was sent said that you could return to duty once we receive the information from your doctors.
Jason, you was in that meeting, Missy was in that meeting, Minnie was in that meeting, I was in that meeting, and you made the decision to bring me back to work because how would I know to come back on Monday and you got my pills and what I take that same night? So how would I know that letter didn't tell me nothing on that as far as coming back to work and what day to come back to work. I found out it in executive session because you come out of executive session and you adjourn.
Okay, Mike, you did everything we asked you to do, and we did everything that we said we would do according to the letters from your doctors. So I'm not sure I'm understanding what you're, Mike, shush. I'm not understanding what you're questioning if everything went the way it was supposed to go.
Because first of all, if you made a decision, executive session, that invalidated the administrative leave.
And that lasted all of what, 24 hours?
How much? That cost me 8 days.
You just said you had your,
on me, and now you got one held up on me now.
you just
But
said
you
you
don't
had your
read-
letters.
you
You
don't
just
read-
said you had your letters there in a timely fashion. I was leaving the building and you stopped me on the sidewalk to make sure I knew your letters were there.
And
Your
then-
letters were there in a very timely fashion.
And what did I tell you, Mindy? I said, all I want to be is treated fair and everybody else be treated fair. So on this note of the doctor's notes.
Your note from the cardiologist says you can't do anything.
Now, I've been held to the coals, my feet to the coals on my situation here, doctor's notes, pills, everything else. Have the trustees ever asked anybody else what pills they take, when they take them? No. Doctor's notes. Another employee had a situation. Did you ever bring him in when he come back to work and ask him for the doctor's notes, what pills he takes? What's his restrictions? No, I'm the only one that's held their feet to the fire on this one.
You're the only one in this township because you're the only one that's ever encountered anything like this. But I
No.
assure you that happens in business all over every day.
Mindy, there's another situation in October. And they come back. But did I see a doctor's note? No. Did you see a doctor's note? No. Did you bring him in and ask him what restrictions were? No. Did you ask him what pills to take or he's taking? What?
Well,
Mike, wait.
we can't go back and erase what happened in October.
Mike,
But,
and Mike, if you're talking about Dale Mears, which I
Missy, I just think from this conversation.
You brought it, you opened the door.
you brought it forward, so I'm going to bring it out, which I really shouldn't say anything. But that was your responsibility as a supervisor to ask Mr. Mears for a doctor's note or anything else. And for your information, Mr. Mears wasn't on any medication. He's not on any medication, hasn't been. They've not done anything. He had a pacemaker put in. Mr. Mears never drove any vehicle other than the small dump truck. So that was your responsibility as a supervisor to ask for a doctor's note. You did not do that. And Mr. Mears was cleared to go back to work. So that falls on you, Mike. And when your cardiologist came back and said that you had to be on desk duty, that's what we went with. And I'm not. My question to you is, Mike, what do you want us to do? What are you asking us to do?
All I want is to be fair here. You all want to be transparent, and you had a meeting December 7th, probably on me. You wouldn't say who it was about, probably on me. And it's just public knowledge, but it wasn't. And my feet are held to the fire. So on the doctor's notes, I'm the only one that's got doctor's notes in my file. Nobody else does. I turn mine in, but nobody else does.
Okay, there again, Mike, that comes back to you because you didn't ask Mr. Mears for his doctor's
I'm talking
note.
about everybody. I'm talking
Okay,
everybody employee in here.
but there's never been another employee that has had a heart vest or a shock vest on or anything
There's been
else.
people that had knee surgeries. There's been people that had other surgeries other than this situation.
So Mike, let's look at it this way. Let's look at if it was a police officer, we as the trustees would not be responsible for asking that police officer for the doctor's note. Chief Littleton would be, just as you were responsible for asking Mr. Mears. If it was Chief Littleton, we would be responsible as his supervisors, just as we are yours. And that is our responsibility to go to you, your responsibility to go to your staff. If you didn't ask Mr. Mears for a doctor's note and you didn't put the stipulations on him, then it's bygones. At this point, there's nothing we can do to change that. We can look forward to whomever is under you. You can make whatever rules you want to make. But we have an obligation as the trustees to watch out for those who we supervise. And we have people watching us to make sure that what we are doing is by the rules, by the books, everything else. Nobody's going to be happy in a situation like this because somebody is always going to be the person who says things should have been different. But right now we have a letter from a cardiologist that states that you are on desk duty. And until we get another letter contradicting that, our hands are tied. We are your supervisors. We are free to make that
I
decision.
can't go out and check for a grave or something. I can still walk around and so forth. It's not just desk duty. I can do, I can't dig a hole with a shovel. I can't lift the bag of cement per se, but I can still get around. It's not
Your
just desk duty.
cardiologist letter said office duty only. So it's not us putting a constraint on you, Mike. It's us following what your doctor put because of the risk that it would impose to both you and the township if you were doing anything other than that. Period. There's no malice, malfeasance, nothing else. The doctor says you're on office duty. The doctor is the one treating you. The doctor is the one who knows, and that's what we're all following.
But the problem is making that decision in executive session and putting me on administrative leave. There's one problem. Second problem, since I've been digging into this. And I found it because of the questions I've asked. But, you know, people that have sick more than 3 days for doctor's note. Well, they didn't turn one in. But what I found on here, you held my check up because you didn't agree with my time sheet. But here's another one right here. I'll show you, Jason. That I know daggone well he was off sick. And he got regular rate of pay. And you wrote him a check.
Okay, wait a minute. May I ask who that person is?
If you want to say the name, Jason, go ahead. But I just keep it as an employee.
So did you get this through an information request?
Yes.
It's a leave detail for Chief Littleton, showing that he took sick leave.
0 for all of 2020.
Okay,
Wow.
let me ask you a question, Mr. Kraft, because I'm really confused here. Why are you looking at Chief Littleton's paycheck? How did you get that information?
Missy, I looked at them all. I looked at doctor's notes. You see my records request.
No, that's not what I asked you. That's not what I asked you.
Everybody else followed it. Everybody else.
How did you know that Chief Littleton turned in what sick leave and what not? How did you know that?
Missy.
I could answer that.
Okay, answer that.
I could answer that because
Answer
there
it.
was a public records request and I emailed it to all you trustees for you to complete a couple portions. It was.
Who asked for that public records request?
I did.
Mike
Okay,
asked for it.
because I never saw that public records request.
Pull the email up then that I sent you.
No,
No, I'm just saying, Missy, everybody employed here has put down time when they're off on vacation, or not vacation, but sick time. Okay? I know, and this brings up the second point. There was a situation here that the trustees and Karen was made aware of, but the road department was not. And this was started me and scared me half out of my wits. That Thursday I went in the hospital because I thought I had COVID. And I went out the Tuesday before that and got a COVID test just to protect myself. But nobody called the road department saying, hey, there's a situation here. You might want to stay away. But it scared me half out of my wits because I thought I had COVID.
Okay, Mike, I'm going to interject real quick. Not that this really matters, but Chief Littleton's medical leave happened to have been covered by a federal decision as of May of 2020. There were certain health conditions that were being covered under a similar to FMLA type move, where employers could grant sick leave for certain workers, up to 80 hours of sick leave. And that was if a person had a certain medical condition, which I'm not at liberty to say because of HIPAA, but he met all the criteria for that federal money to pay his sick leave if we needed for it. But he met the criteria. So we were able to grant him sick leave for that time. What other employees do with their sick leave or what the backdoor is may not always be public knowledge for you. You may not always know everything that's going on with everybody, but I assure you that there are plenty of reasons that people may get sick leave, and each individual person is a different individual case. You can't compare apples and oranges.
And I'm sorry, I have to, again, I'm not trying to upset anybody or the cart here, but I have a real issue because I find it odd that Mr. Kraft would be asking for certain employees thing.
I'm not asking certain employees.
Just a minute,
I'm asking
Mike.
all.
Let me finish, Miss. So you would be asking for a certain employee's information. How would you know about that person? You don't even work in that building. So somebody else had to tell you that information, Mike. And
Read the records request. Anybody that's sick more than 3 days.
that's right. It's a records request. Anybody. But again, how would you know that someone was off? How would you know someone had a knee operation? How would you know? So
What
that's
Missy's asking what prompted that records request.
yeah, I know what prompted that records request.
Prompted that.
No, you don't, Missy.
Yes, I do, Mike.
No, you don't, Missy. I did that because digging on the doctor's notes, I'm the only one that's got doctor's notes in my file. Nobody else does. So, okay, let's go this way and give me anybody that's been sick more than 3 days. Because I was only sick 6 days and come back. And I got ready to go to the cold here.
You don't report.
Nobody else has.
You don't report
I've had my feet held to the fire here.
where you're checking.
But we need to resolve this paycheck because taxes need to be made and paid. And it can't be done until we resolve this paycheck. It's not only my taxes, everybody else's taxes.
You jump. They're saying they got it.
So, I mean, you all do what you want to do. But it's 22 days of pay, what you owe me, one way or another.
So I will say that the last paycheck that was held up because you're over 80 hours, right? And we had told you, you could work up to 80 hours for any pay period, and you could flex time to make those 80 hours so you didn't have to burn sick time. You took full sick time for every day you had dialysis, and then had additional hours because you worked on the holiday, which you were flexing that time like we told you you could, but then you didn't reduce the number of hours because the subtotal was meant to be 80 hours. So the total hours for the pay period.
Then why didn't you just pay me the 80 hours and fight about these 6.25 hours later? Just like the paycheck, back in December 14th paycheck, there's hours back there, 8 days, that we still got to
So
deal
here's
with.
what I'm gonna tell you. We got with legal to make sure that we were doing everything, letter of the law, right down the middle.
Okay,
Hold on,
go ahead.
I got that information. I sent it to Karen, who then forwarded it to the other trustees. At that time, we needed to have a discussion. Unfortunately, we were unable to schedule that meeting until later this week. The problem is that the trustees cannot get on the phone with each other and have a conversation to say, this is what needs to be done, this is how it needs to be done, if this happened, then we're good, we can recut the check. The problem was when your pay was listed for over 80 hours, that paycheck should have never been cut for over 80 hours, period. Now we're having to go and figure out, one, make sure that we're doing everything by the letter of law, that we were clear when we said you can work no more than 80 hours, no overtime, you can flex time, but it could be no more than 80 hours over pay period. Collected all the information, sent it to Nathaniel, he responded back, sent it to Karen, she sent it to the trustees. At that point, there was a need for discussion, and that discussion could not happen until this week. We tried, things were going on, and we couldn't get it scheduled. So that is scheduled for this Thursday to have that conversation in executive session. So we have been trying to work that through. We haven't gotten to the point where we were able to put a bow on it and be done with it. Because the overall hours, 6.25 hours, you were over for that pay period, you should have never been over. So, at this point in time, short of us having a conversation between the trustees over the employment and compensation of an employee, that's where we are.
But don't you think on time sheets, if I work the Saturday or Sunday and I move that time to my other spot and no show I work, and let's say I fall and get hurt and there's no time on them days as for workers' comp,
For any time that you work, you shouldn't have double dipped with the sick time on top of it. That's what puts you to 6.25 hours. If you would have taken the hours that you worked and then subtracted what your overage was from flexing on that holiday plus the extra 2.25 hours, subtracted 6.25 hours from your sick time so that it would have come out to a flat 80, there would have never been a problem because you were told you could never work more than 80 hours, no overtime, but you could flex to get to the 80 without having to burn your sick time. That is what was said multiple times on the phone when we talked. It was sent in the letter and we've discussed this. So my whole point was that check should have never been cut for the amount of hours that were submitted. It should have triggered something right there when that time card was turned in, that it was over 80 hours and there was a problem. Why that wasn't caught, I don't know, but we needed to actually get to the point where we could get to a resolution, which we can only do in a meeting, to figure out having the time card corrected. So it's only 8 hours, recut the check and be done. That's what happened on that instance.
well,
Okay. I have a question, Mike. Did you just state, that if, because I know that we gave you the option of going in and working on Saturday and Sunday. Did you just make the statement, what happens if you go in and slip and fall or something?
okay, if I show no time down for that day, because I move that time into another slot, to take off sick time or whatever, and shows no time on there and something would happen, then workers' comp ain't gonna cover it.
So the whole point of flexing the time is so you didn't have to burn sick hours.
I don't, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong. If he doesn't work his 40 hours during Monday through Friday, that's why we gave him the option of letting him come in on Saturday and Sunday, so he wouldn't have to take the sick leave. Is that correct?
Correct, so that he
Okay,
wouldn't have to burn
so-
6 hours.
So he is on the clock. He is an employee.
Yeah.
So Mike, you're making the statement that you're worried, what would happen if you would go in and get hurt while you're there for 4 hours,
I
correct?
move the hours to reflect on the time.
You wouldn't
sheet.
move the hours, you would subtract the sick time hours. 'Cause
You would,
wouldn't
yes,
burn
yeah.
all the sick time hours for that week because you flexed the time. That was the
Okay.
whole purpose behind that.
Okay, but someone answer Mike, answer my question. So you said you were worried if you would go in and slip and fall or something like that and get hurt.
If I
Right.
hit my head or something, Missy.
Okay, so,
I just want to make sure that
okay,
that
Well,
I'm covered with workers' comp or something like that for an injury. I just want to
Okay.
make sure the time sheets are right. I want to make sure They're right for the auditors, the whole 9 yards.
Right, and I understand that, but I think now as trustees, with Mr. Kraft making this statement that he's concerned, or if something would happen to Mr. Kraft if he was there alone on Saturday and Sunday, I'm not real sure if that's a real option now, that we should even give him that option. Because now I'm concerned, what if he goes down there and his shock vest goes off or something happens? Obviously, Mr. Kraft has thought about this, and maybe that's something that the trustees need to talk about.
I think that's something we can discuss in the upcoming meeting that we've scheduled to discuss all this.
Yeah.
Is that a concern that you have, Mike, that something might happen while you're there alone?
That's not a concern, but I could be walking down there and hit my head on a mirror, and so could Dale, or not Dale, but Dave or Randy. Anybody could, but I'm just saying, I want to make sure them timesheet reflects for the auditors, for us, and everybody else.
The whole point was.
If my understanding is correct, and you are concerned that being down there by yourself on the weekends might, if
I'm not
something
concerned
happened
about
there.
It's just, what I'm concerned is that if the hours reflect I worked there, that I was there. That if something would happen, you know, I twist an ankle, I walk on a rock and twist my ankle, and workers' comp, you know, anything like
The
that.
hours that you would subtract is from your sick time. We never told you to remove hours from hours that you worked, not once. We said you could do that to offset you using so much sick time. But the fact that you did that and then did the sick time on top of it is what threw it out of whack. So no one's ever said, Mike, don't report hours that you're working. No one ever said that. The only thing that would need to be subtracted would be the unnecessary sick hours that you claim for that pay period. And that would bring you back down to the 80 hours and it's done. So no one ever said, I want to be very clear on that. No one ever said, remove hours that you actually worked. We said you wouldn't have to claim the sick time if you worked the hours.
Mike, you will always be paid for any hours that you are working on township property. But we cannot pay you for when you are not working unless they are sick hours or vacation hours or holiday pay, but you can't work on a holiday and take holiday pay. Every minute that you work, you are accountable for. We are willing to meet that accountability with proper records, proper documentation, and proper pay. But there are things that aren't being done properly that we're trying to put into place. And we need to make sure that we can get on the same page with that, because for so long things have been done certain ways. There's so many people right now wanting to make sure it's done the right way, but the right way is a big change. So we can pay you for when you're working. We can pay you for weekends. We can pay you for sick time. We can pay you for holiday time. We can't pay you for holiday when you're there working on the same day. We can't pay you for days that you're not there and you're not taking sick time and you're not, that you're not claiming. And we agreed to no overtime, so we can't pay you the overtime hours while you're on the medical limitations. Once the letters from your cardiologist come in and say he's free and clear, this all goes away and goes back to normal.
Well, then, like I said, I want to be treated fair and everybody else be treated fair. I want to make sure everybody, we've been down this road before on sick time, vacation time, and everything else too. But if that's the case, if that gentleman got the COVID pay, then why didn't the other gentleman get it when he was off for COVID?
Because different people have different situations, and there are different revised codes, and there are different laws, and there are different ailments. They're not all the same. Not everybody is on the same baseline. There may be similarities in policies, vacation hours, sick hours, generic policies for time worked. That's pretty much the same across the board in any human resources department, no matter where you go to work, whether it's Premier Health or Airport Toyota. They're all going to have the same baseline. But individual cases, me, you, Jason, Karen, Rhonda, every single person is an individual, and each individual case has to be warranted on its own merit.
Well, like I said, I just want to be treated fair, but there's an issue on the pace and they need corrected. Whether you want to come and check for 80 hours and go from there and find about the other hours later, that's fine. But that needs to be taken care of because it's not just hurting me, it's hurting the township because the taxes need to be paid. But like I said, December 14th, I'm the one that suggested that you pay me for the hours worked. The other hours we'll find about later, so the medical can get paid.
But keep in mind, we'll pay you for the hours worked as long as those hours worked stay within the guidelines that we agreed to when we got the letter from your cardiologist, which
But
means
Mindy, what I'm saying
no
is
more than
pay me the 80 hours. And then that way taxes can be paid. So you don't go in, not default, but get behind on this.
but the 80 hours can't be 38 hours one week and 42 hours the other week. It has to be 40 and 40. That's just the way it works.
Well, other than that, I mean, like I said, we got the issues that on that paycheck and however you want to handle it, because obviously I'm not getting anywhere because I just want to get this done so the township stays in good graces. And cut me a check for 80 or cut me a check for 40, at least that the taxes be paid.
Well, we welcome you to work up to 40 hours per week. Within 2 weeks, that will equal 80 hours, but it can't be over 40 one week and not 40 the next.
So,
Anything over 40 is overtime, and we can't allow overtime while you're on medical leave.
The key is that we have to have this conversation Thursday, because we've already tied Nathaniel into it and we're having a conversation with him Thursday. So to run this all around, get it all done and bow on it, we're looking to get that all finalized Thursday afternoon. Okay?
good enough.
All right.
Any other visitors have anything else that they would like to add?
Mindy, I just wanted to say that I will be out of the office on February the 12th and February the 16th. And February the 15th is a holiday. So I just wanted to remind everybody of that.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Ken,
Yes.
Hartshorn,
Yes.
Mears,
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.